The U.S. and the Taliban are now on the clock in what is being described as a 7-day period of reduced violence.
It's supposed to be the precursor toward a peace agreement scheduled for signing next week. But Fox senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palcott tells us tonight there are plenty of things that still could go wrong.
Could be the beginning of the end of America's 18-year-long war in Afghanistan. Set to start there, a 7-day-long partial truce involving the Taliban, U.S., NATO, and Afghan forces. Not a ceasefire, but a halt in most offensive activities. Secretary of State Pompeo, traveling in the Mideast, tweeted, "After decades of conflict, we have come to an understanding with the Taliban on a significant reduction in violence across Afghanistan. This is an important step on a long road to peace, and I call on all Afghans to seize this opportunity." If it works, an agreement will be signed February 29th in Qatar by U.S. Afghanistan envoy Zalmay Khalilzad and Taliban representatives, which would lead to bilateral talks between the Afghan government and the Taliban about a final political settlement.
Now that the Taliban have agreed to a reduction in violence, it is also an essential step towards a ceasefire and lasting peace.
Also included, a commitment from the Taliban not to let Afghanistan be used by terrorists to launch another attack on the U.S., and a cut of U.S. forces from some 12,000 to 8,600, what President Trump wants. The agreement includes, however, a potentially dangerous release of some 5,000 Taliban prisoners. And the Taliban want all Americans out, something the U.S. doesn't want a chance. "My fellow Afghans will soon celebrate this historic agreement," wrote Taliban Deputy Sirajuddin Haqqani in a controversial New York Times op-ed. "Once it is entirely fulfilled, Afghans will see the departure of all foreign troops." The spreading of opinions of this known terrorist with a $10 million U.S. bounty on his head, a sign of how high risk these talks are.
I think it was hugely wrong to give one of the most valuable pieces of real estate in journalism over to the unchallenged view of one of the most wanted terrorists in the world.
The New York Times says it reached out to all sides in the Afghan conflict, and Haqqani's view was relevant. Talking with the Taliban, a journalistic and diplomatic minefield. In London, Greg Palcott, Fox News.